Alright, welcome to my first video on this channel where I'm going to help you become conversational in Spanish, just like I did from home. Today we're going to go over some of the most common phrases, but I'm actually going to explain them to you so that you don't have to memorize them and you can just understand them instead. Alright, and this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to have the Spanish phrase here. You're going to be lost and confused and you're going to be looking for help. That's where I'll jump in, I'll break it down word by word, and then we'll put the phrase back together. This time, you're gonna have a smile on your face and a thumb up, and you're gonna be filled with joy. So let's get into it. The first phrase is de vez en cuando. So if we break that down word by word, de means of or from, vez means time, en means in, and cuando means when. I also put whenever because in certain contexts it can mean whenever. If you were to say cuando quieras, that means when you want, but it basically means whenever. Or cuando sea, which means whenever it happens to be, basically. Again, whenever, right? So if we put that together in English, of, a time, in, whenever. Now that doesn't make much sense, but if you think about whenever as any possible time, so in English we might say of a time is once, right? A time, once, in, a while. Rather than whenever being used as possible times, in English we use a while, and then we say once in a while. De vez en cuando. I think that makes sense. That's how I think about it, at least. Next one is ¿qué tal? This one's a little bit more straightforward. This is a greeting, so ¿qué means what, tal means such or like. So for example, if you were to use it in the context of it's as such, that means es como tal. It's es as como tal such. So if we put it together, ¿qué tal? What? And then what's it like? What's it such as type of feeling, which means how is it, which means what's up. Just like in English, what's up doesn't really make sense. It's the same thing in Spanish. This one actually makes more sense because it's like, what's it like? Anyways, next one is hasta luego. I always have trouble saying luego, luego. Hasta means until, and luego is later or afterwards. So this one's pretty easy. The previous one was a greeting. This one is until later, aka see you later. And you don't actually, just like in English, you can say see you later to someone you're never gonna see again, like an Uber driver or something. Same thing in Spanish, hasta luego, just a chill, casual way of saying peace. Next up, this one's probably my favorite in the video. Para gustos los colores. What does each word mean? Para means for, gustos means tastes or preferences. So if you say mi gusto es, that means my taste or my preference is, whatever comes after. Los, the, but plural, and then colores, colors. So if you put it all together, for tastes, there are colors. So because people have different tastes, there are different colors to satisfy everyone's taste. AKA, boom, to each their own. To each their own, who cares? Everybody has their own preference. Para gustos, los colores. Then we have por supuesto. This one used to confuse me all the time. Por, meaning for or by, and then supuesto, which means supposition or assumption. So if you were to say por supuesto, you're basically saying by supposition or by assumption. So like if somebody tells you, hey, can you wash the dishes later on today? And you basically say like, oh yeah, by por supuesto, like by supposition, by assumption, you can conclude that I will. That's kind of how I think about it. So you're basically telling the person to be certain that you will wash the dishes. So you're saying, of course. Like, let's operate under the assumption that I will, right? Of course. I used to always get this confused with supposedly. When I'd hear people say por supuesto, I used to think they would say supposedly, which is obviously the opposite of course. Supposedly is like, supposedly, I don't know, maybe. Whereas por supuesto is the opposite. It's like, of course, yes, I will. So, supposedly is supuestamente. So, don't get confused. Por supuesto is by assumption, yes. Like, that is the assumption. We're operating under the assumption that I will wash the dishes, of course. Versus supposedly, supuestamente. Supposedly, I don't know, maybe. Then next up is de repente. De repente, which means of, and I don't know why I have for there, that should just say of, and repente, which is sudden. So of a sudden, aka all of a sudden. So you'd hear someone say de repente esto pasó, right? So all of a sudden this happened. Pretty simple. Next one, más vale tarde que nunca. A good thing to tell someone when they've been waiting a while for something, maybe even too long. Más meaning more, vale means it is worth, right? So if we say esto vale $5, that means this is worth $5, or it costs $5. Tarde means late. Que means when you're using it in a comparison, it means then. And then nunca, which means when. No, it doesn't. It means never. Man, I really have to go over these sides. Let's just say never. Nunca means never. So, all together, more, worth, late, then, never. Which, you can already tell where this is going. Better late than never. Now, más vale in this case means better, but typically in Spanish, to say better, you would just say mejor. But this phrase, you say it as más vale tarde que nunca. Anyways, coming up on the end here. All right, next up is lo siento. This one's common. For example, if you just ruined someone's life, you would tell them lo siento, which means lo. This one, I'm gonna have a video coming out on lo because it used to confuse me so much, but it's more simple than you think it is. But in this context, it means it, and then siento means I feel. So in English, it wouldn't be it I feel, we would say I feel it. So if you're wondering, okay, lo siento, I feel it, what could that mean? Well, if you think about when you ruin somebody's life, what do you do to show empathy? What word would you say to show that you're empathizing with a person, you acknowledge their emotions, you acknowledge what you did? You would say, I'm sorry. So, lo siento is the way we say sorry in Spanish. And it's interesting because it shows what sorry actually means. It's like a way of showing empathy. It's a way of saying, I understand why you feel the way you feel, and I'm just acknowledging that. Anyways, that's all the phrases I'm gonna go over in this video. I really hoped it helped, so if you did like it, let me know, and I'll come out with more. I have a bunch more examples. It just, I don't know, I don't wanna bore you to death with a bunch of examples in one video. But now that you have a framework to elicit meaning from phrases, it's better to kind of ask yourself, use critical thinking when you see a phrase. Why does it mean what it means, rather than just memorizing it? Because soon enough, things start to rack up, and I used to try and memorize everything, and it doesn't work. So this is why I put this together. Now you can understand rather than memorize. And I'm going to be putting more examples in my private community, which I'm hosting on School. You can check out the link in the bio. If you're serious about learning Spanish, it's a good place to be. I'm going to be active there, helping you guys out, and we'll have direct access to each other. And yeah, what else will you get? You'll also be surrounded by other serious Spanish learners, which is important. You know, you want to be surrounded by people who have the same goal as you. You'll have support and collaboration, and you'll become fluent in Spanish. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.